I am sorry. Sorry for having believed Mandelson's lies and appointed him.
The newly released Mandelson Files aren't just a political scandal. They are a damning indictment of the Prime Minister who was warned, who saw the red flags and who chose to ignore them all. This is the story of how Starmer's ambition blinded him to the truth and how his obsession with political grandeur led him to betray the public's trust. Let's be clear about what Keir Starmer knew. In December 2024, he was handed a 147-page Cabinet Office due diligence report. It wasn't a background check, it was a dossier of warnings. The report explicitly highlighted a reputational risk from Mandelson's relationship with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Starmer was told that Mandelson had stayed with Epstein after he was convicted of procuring an underage girl in 2008. He was told Mandelson remained in contact with him, even urging him to fight for early release from prison. The evidence was in his hands. The alarm bells were deafening. But the warnings didn't just come from a piece of paper, they came from the highest levels of his own team. Starmer's own national security advisor Jonathan Powell directly expressed concerns about appointment to the PM's chief of staff Morgan McSweeney. Powell described the entire process as unusual and weirdly rushed. They were told to stand down. Starmer overruled the officials who warned him about reputational risk. He ignored the advice from his own security experts. He pushed his disgraced ally into one of the most sensitive diplomatic posts in the world, the US ambassadorship. When the scandals exploded and Mandelson was sacked, the questions began, and the answers have only made things worse. The opposition is screaming cover up, pointing to the fact that Starmer's own notes on the file are mysteriously missing. The comment box where the Prime Minister would record his decision was left blank, as if the judgment wasn't bad enough. The recklessness was staggering. The documents revealed that Mandelson was given access to highly classified briefing before his formal security vetting was even complete. A man tied to the Epstein, a man deemed as a risk, was let into nation's most sensitive secrets. The Chief Secretary to the Treasury Darren Jones admitted that everyone was thinking Mandelson should never have been appointed. Keir Starmer now stands before the country and claims he takes responsibility. He says he's made a mistake, but this wasn't a mistake. A mistake is forgetting an umbrella. This was deliberate, calculated decision to ignore multiple specific warnings from his own experts. This was a choice. He chose his ally over his country's security. He chose political expediency over basic integrity. He has not just misled the public, he has shredded the very promise of his own premiership. The man who was going to clean up politics is now drowning in a scandal of his own making. The Mandelson Files aren't just a story of a bad appointment. They are definite proof that Keir Starmer's judgment is fundamentally flawed, and his promise of integrity was a lie from the very beginning.